Hey folks, this is Wednesday, August 12th, 2020. Larry's with us. I'm having a few minor technical difficulties. Hopefully, we won't have the static today that we had before. Um, Great, my microphone just fell apart. Oh dear, oh dear. Give me a sec to get it screwed back on. There we go, it fell off. All right, so hi Laura. We've got 5 people with us starting out right now, so go ahead and take it away, Larry. People will join us as they get the notice.
Okay. All right, folks. Or a few folks, or a lot of folks, whatever the folk number is. We're seeing the definition of the race laid out now. I don't need to tell y'all anymore about him picking what's her name to run with him.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. And what you're going to see is another race where, for example, John McCain was running. And he was a very lackluster candidate. He certainly was not a national candidate. And he had run and played on his hero stuff as far as he could. So he goes and in virtually the same position that Biden is in today. He goes and he picks Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin was to give his campaign a new spark of life, a new way to go. And unfortunately, it didn't work all the way. It worked. I mean, he did get better. He got better because of her. But he couldn't get over the hump with her. Let's hope, and that's all we can do, let's hope that Biden faces the same situation that McCain did. And remember, let's not forget, Sarah Palin ended up towards the end of the race. She ended up being so much the star of the show that people were actually wanting her to run and for her to drop him. Now, why did I give you this little tidbit of history? Because you need to know it. We have things on our side right now. We do. But sometimes it's hard for y'all to see them. The thing that you're missing, maybe, is when we are trying to fight to protect this nation. We need to look hard at things in the past to give us direction, to tell us what not to do. Not necessarily what to do, but it's worth a lot of money to know what not to do. Then, as you're trying to represent to others that are starting to get weak-kneed and think Trump is toast, you need to give them something tangible that they can hold on to. And the story of McCain and Sarah Palin, I'm telling you, tells a story of hope for us today. It really does, if you look into it and analyze it and just think about it. Just think about it. Here she was going out in leather skirts, and then she went out in leather blue jeans or leather jeans, whatever. And they finally cooled her down on that. So her numbers came back up. But all in all, up until the very end of the race, she had a good liftoff for McCain. By that I mean, had it been reversed, had she been vice presidential candidate, the outcome would have been totally different. She would have had enough muscle and oomph to get over the finish line. She did. She would have. And then what little bit of rumorism or what little bit of messed up is McCain have to do with that. And John McCain can't answer questions. It's not that he can't answer questions. He can answer questions. He just answers them wrong. And then he gets confused.
You're talking about McCain?
I'm talking about Biden. I'm sorry. See, I get these campaigns all confused because there's so much similarity that I get confused. You should too, because they are similar. Now, we're getting ready. We're getting good and ready to sink our teeth into this campaign. But here's the problem. The candidates have to show a sign of physical health. You know, they have to show that they're healthy. I don't know that Biden can actually do that. I know Trump can, but I don't know that Biden can. So he's going to have a strike against him there, I think. They're going to have to show some sense of diversity, meaning Biden can't just deal in the campaign world, in the campaign trail. He can't just deal with issues and matters he has dealt with before. Now think about that one. He's going to have to answer questions, build his fortresses or whatever around. He's going to have to talk about things he does not want to talk about. We're going to watch how he does that. And we're applicable. We're going to rip in and rip him apart. Now, the fun part, of course, I say fun, is going to be convincing somewhere around 4 to 6 million people. 4 to 6 million, because that's all we're going to have when the fat lady sings. When it's over, that's all we're going to have room for. It's 4 to 6 million.
What do you mean by that, Larry?
Well, because of the way this race is run, all the votes are technically counted for. You got it? They have so micromanaged this campaign that they have, at least they think they have, all of the votes counted for. And then there's probably, where in elections past, they would gather all their hard votes, all the Democrats' hard votes, and then 40% of the amount that was left. Well, the 40% that was left after each one, remember, it's 40, 40, 20. Of the 20%, each side got 40%, and that would leave 20% of that amount, which equates to about 4 to 6 million votes that have got to be won over to win this election. This election may very well come down to as little as 1 million votes. Decides 1 million. And when you think of it that way, Mary Ellen, then you think of election fraud, right?
Yeah. Big time.
Election fraud is huge in this race.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about just getting the votes in and getting them counted. I'm talking about it's huge for its role in this race.
Yeah.
So Trump is very wisely, he has spent money, he has spent the effort to try and curtail as much of it as he can. But unfortunately, he can't get it all. Now, when you say he can't get it all, how much is the all he can't get? And I hope that number is less than 4 to 6 million. Because if it's truly 4 to 6 million, virtually 1 million votes will decide who's going to be president. Now, once again, you need to start telling the people you know the things that are coming in the future. Number one, it gives you credibility. Number two, it gives you a chance to get your foot in the door to those people and get them to vote for Trump. You've got to. You've got to literally walk in their door. First, you can't because they'll stop you at the door and say, what do you want? You tell them, and they'll say, well, we're not voting. Or they'll say, we lost our ability to vote whenever. Excuse me. But likely as not, they're in a position to vote. You've got to tell them things that are going to happen in the future. And that's why I tell you, living in the future politically is so significant. I don't think there's any of you that are regulars that have been with me for the past, past year, up until the point I crashed and, got so sick I couldn't be with you. But I don't think there's any of those people that have been with me for a serious amount of time that can't tell you that everything I have told y'all is coming to pass, starting to come to pass. Correct?
Yes, it is.
There, thank goodness, had a feather in my throat. A lot of people that are fortune tellers, they like to speak in the abstract. They like to say, when the duck flies on the third Wednesday of the fifth month and the rains come, and if the rains come with the snow that's inches behind, then, this will happen. I haven't done that with you. I have not. I told you this is going to happen. I told you it's not going to be a cakewalk for Trump. It's not going to be a cakewalk. Not at all. Number one, they're going to go out there and they're going to kill his strong suit that he's betting so heavily on, which is the economy. His claim to fame, his ability to be reelected was fairly well sealed. He was going to win had it not been for this theft of property. I'm trying to think how to say it. He was going to win if it wasn't for what they did to drag out this stuff with this girl and took his economy away from him. You see, now his economy is damaged by the virus, plus his shut down many of the main businesses in America, shut them down long enough to put them in serious financial trouble. Think about it. Don't say we're going to do it. Don't say we're going to trash the economy. A couple months out before the election.
Yep.
Well, where are we? A couple months out before the election.
Exactly.
And I could go on and on of the things we've talked about and the things I've told you were coming that are coming.
A lot of those things seem to come earlier than you expected, which really sent, I think in the beginning, even though you weren't with us, some of the things we saw coming, we were wondering, oh, will this just blow over and be to his advantage to get it back? And it's just lasted and lasted and lasted.
Well, unfortunately for me, I took about a 5 or 6 month sabbatical away from y'all, which didn't necessarily help in reading the tea leaves. But you can use the things I tell you that are going to happen still that have not happened yet to win trends and influence people. And this election season, when I would not use mail-in ballot now, from what I have seen, they have already marred it up so that we have no idea if the mail-in ballot is going to even be counted. That doesn't mean you don't vote in paper. It just means you don't do it ahead of time and mail it in. When you go to your voting precinct, you have your voting document in your hand and you hand it to the clerk and they stamp it in front of you, date and time. Now that vote done that way is very, very hard to obstruct, to disappear, make it disappear. They're going to do it. And you need, each one of you, a private army. A private army of surrogates that are working with you to at least stop every voter fraud effort in your geographic area that you choose. You got to.
Can we talk about how to do that? Because one of the things I've suggested is we need to get involved with our Board of Elections to get trained so we can go to the nursing homes as Republicans and help people vote. And we can help man the elections. We can go as poll watchers to watch for people, multiple voting. And
well, you can. As a matter of fact, that probably would be a good idea because you need to go to your Board of Elections and ask them, tell them, don't ask them, I'm sorry, tell them you're going to be going to the nursing homes to help the people in these nursing homes cast their vote because they can't, in most cases, can't come out on their own. So can you tell me, what's the best way to go and help them vote and then get them back and get them counted and make it legal? You need to ask your Board of Elections or certainly the head of your Board of Elections. Now, while you're there, I would ask them, what are the rules for signage? In other words, if you're carrying a sign, what are the rules at the national voting precinct level? And you may say, well, it's working because we're, getting. They're going to say it's working, but I'm telling you, what they're saying is working is because Democrats are pledging they're coming, and they're going to do it. You've just got to get there first, folks. You've got to get there first.
So I guess that means we need to find out when early voting starts so that we get there on the first day immediately to get everybody.
I think early voting, well, I don't know. I mean, it's state to state, so this is a project that each one of you in your state, unless there are several in your state and somebody else checks it out, and I would be careful about waiting for that to happen. But you could, in theory, wait it out and, then see. But I shouldn't think you would want to do that. So with this, it's time for y'all to ask questions and me to just try to answer what I can.
Okay. Phil asked a question about Dan Lasseter. Was he doing something in the 80s, a blackmail scheme like Jeffrey Epstein did with giving away drugs and young girls involved?
Yes, he did. He ran quite a stable for the rich and famous. A stable is what street corner pimps call their fleet of women. As you get up to the more sophisticated groups, they call it a stable. Like horses in the stable. And he ran quite a stable so that no matter who was coming into Arkansas or who was coming to see the governor, whatever they did, they would say the governor can't be sure to meet you today, but you need to get here in case you can. But certainly he'll see you tomorrow. Now what that did was just set it up to where you put the other group at bay, you put them off. And they don't even know they're being put off. But yes, he did. He did that. And I would not be surprised if he's not doing it today.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you know anything about a 10-day blackout coming?
Do not. Don't believe it. I've heard about it, but I do not believe it.
Is Hannity still considered trustworthy?
No.
No? Okay. But Trump goes on with him, not some of the others.
Well, look, Hannity, by going to Bill O'Reilly's place, when Hannity took O'Reilly's place, it immediately shot his viewer and listenership up through the roof. But Hannity, I've always told you, Marilyn, I've told you, he's always been plastic, right?
Yep.
How long ago did I tell you Sean Hannity was plastic? Can you remember that length of time somehow?
It's been at least 3 years.
3 years. I mean, Hannity is a gadfly. He's the guy that's going to sit there and whatever he's got to do to make his career go and to make him look big time, he does it. But he's not near the Olympiad swimmer that he might want us to believe, and he's certainly not any smarter than anybody else. He just isn't.
Okay, we got a couple other questions. Can't Trump do some kind of executive order dealing with the mail-in ballots? Shut them down.
He is working on that now. He's trying to get a ruling he's trying to get a ruling from the court private ruling with attorneys and the judge. He's just trying to get a private ruling, and I don't know if he can. But he is going to be trying over and over and over to hurry up the process when he's calling the balls and strikes on this program. When he comes on, some of you that have maybe 4 listeners, get on with him, and then, you have that information in the system ready to go come election time.
What about the fact that Biden's under investigation for what happened with Ukraine, and Harris is under investigation for what happened with Smollett in Chicago? So how is it that they're allowed to proceed in this campaign when they're under investigation, or at least they were and should be?
Well, once again, the magic of politics, Democrat style. It would knock me or you out of being able to do anything. But not them. Not them. And so Trump's people know that it's getting very close to D-Day. It's getting very close to everybody taking their positions. And when they do, they'll have ground control of the air. Now, what is ground control of the air? That's where we have surface-to-air munitions to take out enemy aircraft, so our pilots don't have to go in interface with them. So as long as we've got that kind of edge, they're not going anywhere.
Okay, can you put that a little more layman's terms rather than just military?
Okay. We have surface-to-air missiles that can knock an enemy aircraft out of the air at some 30, 40, 50,000 feet where they can't even fly.
Right, so our military doesn't have to get in the air to fight the enemy. I get that.
Right.
So what does that have to do with the politics we're dealing with?
Well, it has to do with we're trying to win our country back. And everything that's going on is working towards destroying our form of government. And they're going to use, mark this down, they're going to use here very soon surrogates, as I've told y'all before, in surrogate wars to try to take Trump and defeat him. And when we get into these kind of wars, all of these other countries are huffing and puffing and making out like they can beat us. They're trying to scare the American voter into believing that they can beat us, which then translates to an American that gets scared. It translates into that person or persons changing their vote away from Trump. But where they're all making a mistake, the enemies, number one, the politicians, number two, they're all making a mistake thinking that we're going to have to stop this effort in traditional ways with our aircraft going up, shooting them down, which then puts our aircrafts in danger. All it'll take is one or two of our military assets to get shot down out of the sky until everybody will doubt President Trump. It will come.
So you're saying that what's going to happen is before the election, there are going to be a bunch of wars started, and we need to be able to fight on fight.
I think Maryland, there's going to be at least 2 or 3, not maybe a bunch and such, but 2 or 3.
Wow.
And the whole concept is, maybe I left this out for you, but the trick that they're trying to pull off is to bait us into going up in the air and slugging it out with these countries that are woefully outmatched by us. But, you know, they can, as y'all have seen in Iraq and you've seen in Iran, you give a 10-year-old blind kid an AK-47, he can still kill you. They kill Americans every day. So the same would hold true with the enemy aircraft that would be put up against us. They may not be the best. They certainly aren't anywhere near the best, but they might accidentally hit one of our rockets, number one, or we may be heading them into, shooting at some planet or satellite or something. I don't know, but I'm telling you, that's coming. Now, they're going to be surprised. Yes, they've got weapons that do all kinds of magical things, but you forget we can shoot an aircraft down, either a manned aircraft or a non-manned, 20 miles away or 120 miles away, 20,000 feet up. We can hit just like that. So now the military has proven that it might be better to intercept an attacking force of aircraft. Usually what they'll do, they'll come in 4 together, but they'll come in 4, that's called a wing, and there'll be 15, 20 wings hit all over the country. Or we can sit in Florida and other places, dry as can be, air conditioned, the whole 9 yards, and blow them out of the sky. Every last one of them. If you don't believe we can do that, then you have to understand our enemies, our natural enemies, in this case being Iran, they're not as well developed as we are. We at least know that, right?
Yeah.
Well, they knock down airlines. They can knock down airlines. So if they can do that, we can knock their units out of the sky, their platforms.
Okay, so in other words, are you suggesting that they could try to come in and attack us here, or are you talking about the proxy wars around the world too?
Proxy wars, not us. Okay. No way, us. Proxies.
All right, so 2 or 3
surrogates, proxies. I interchange those words. I probably shouldn't.
No, that's all right. People were just asking for clarification. So, I mean, it's looked like we were going to be doing something there in Venezuela. I don't know if that's passed or, is this something we're going to start, or they're going to? Isn't our policy to absorb the first strike?
Well, we're not talking about that type of conflict at all. We're talking about India and Pakistan getting mad at each other and firing that up. We're talking about Nicaragua and it fighting some of its neighbors. That's what we're speaking of here. These are just wars that are more one nation against another nation than it has to do anything else.
And because of allies, we end up getting pulled into some of these regional fights.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let me just try to explain. We've got a couple people. You changed subjects on us so quickly. It took a while for some of us to figure out what you were talking about. So, Diane, what he started talking about is we should expect, maybe even in the next month or two, that we're going to have 2 or 3 wars starting around the world that we're going to be drawn into because of our relationships with the countries involved. And we need to make sure that we stay out of the air, because if our planes get shot down, that's going to reflect badly on Trump and is going to turn voters away from voting for Trump because they'll be upset about it. So did I get that right?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, y'all were asking yesterday about Elliot Abrams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he fits into this picture perfectly. He is probably one of the best people to fit into this picture to handle it. At a time when the president's having to deal with the rigors of a campaign. Elliot Abrams has been here before. It's not his first rodeo.
Yeah. All right. Can we get back to a couple of the other questions?
Yes.
Don, folks, I have them all written down, and I've got a couple back here. Maybe we should go back to the. Teresa yesterday had asked about Stefan Halper. He was CIA and FBI informant, and they're saying that he was involved in somehow being interviewed for the dossier that Steele wrote.
I've heard the name. Maybe in another day or so I'll be able to place it, but not today.
Okie doke. Have you heard that U.S. Customs confiscated 20,000 fake driver's licenses?
No, and not only no, but I don't believe it.
Really? Okay. Okay. Cory Booker and Kamala Harris were once part of the Communist Party. Is that true?
Well, once again, it's something I do not know 100%, but it would not surprise me. Now, if they're part of it, they'd be a part of it in a tacit way, not in an overt, out front
Right.
way. It would just be accidental that they're intertwined with something like that.
Don Huffman is asking how we win the Catholic vote. How does Trump win the Catholic vote? Got any ideas?
Yeah, I've already passed on. Trump has a huge following in the Catholic vote, especially of the members of, or what do you call them? What's it called? You got the Pope, and then you got the littler guys in charge of the church.
So among the leadership?
Yes. What do you call them?
Well, the cardinals, the bishops,
Yeah, at that level, you're going to see the possibility of something happening there. But I assure you, Trump is built up enough. He has them right now. He is built up enough to where that will not be a problem.
That's good news.
For all Trump does, he's no fool. He may make a mistake every once in a while saying something, but he's no fool.
Okay. James is asking, I know you've said this already, but when Trump was talking at Whirlpool in Ohio, he made the comment that you might not see me for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to?
Well, we talked about that before, but I guess I can reiterate it to some degree. What he's referring to, he's not going dark. Not going dark at all. But what he is saying, he's going to have to be more careful, because it's obvious with the level of people that they have arrested and are going to arrest from this sting operation they had going, that there are going to be a lot of people, and they're going to get awful mad when they can't see their cow while they're on the run. So that's working in Trump's favor. But yes, he's got to be bad careful.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's all he's saying. Look, he's not trying to scare people. He's just saying that. And then the other side of it is from the pandemic, as we said before. You know, it's very hard to have an enclosed rally when now everybody's got to wear a mask and they've got to be 4 feet apart. So if you're going to have a rally, you're going to have to do it out in the open. And that's not the best place for him to be doing a rally. Trust me.
Right. Are we already at war with China and Russia? Unofficially?
Yes. Remember what I've always said, y'all, you know, wars exist in many planes. You've got economic wars, you've got social wars, you've got bang, shoot 'em up wars. You know, you've got all these different types of quote unquote political wars, economy wars, all this stuff. They're wars nonetheless, even though they're not the declaration and, you know, the big ceremony and all our troops come marching home again, or, you know, even though it's not that, they are engaged. And if you don't believe that China, number one, China, if you don't believe they believe they're in a hot war with us, you're a fool. Look at what they're building up all over the China Sea. Look at these islands they're building. Then I say, look around at this virus. I believe the virus was leaked from China accidentally on purpose to kill off Americans and many others around the world. That's what I really truly believe.
Yeah. Yep. I believe that. It's interesting that, you know, that shots were fired at the White House shortly after Trump says. I heard somebody this morning speculating that this guy jumping the fence was a test of how secure the Secret Service would be.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. There's some noise here.
Yeah. Was asking. Somebody made the comment this morning that this guy who jumped the fence was a test of the Secret Service.
I don't think this goes through tests several times a week, and they've got much more elaborate tests than that. And I don't think they would push it to the point that it's not.
Okay. Well, you know, everything gets to be speculation, and people need to be careful about speculating. Diane asks, was surprised to hear you say that people are being arrested. Are you able to say who, what, where, when?
No, I cannot. Not yet, but I will soon.
Okay.
All I'm going to get is permission to let it go, and I'll let it go.
Okay. All right. I mean, we hear speculation that they're going after pedophiles, but I won't push you to say yes or no on that. I'm just telling you what I've been hearing.
Well, look, they go after pedophiles as a matter of course. The arrests I'm talking about are the arrests having to do with politics. That's not a matter, an everyday
Yeah, I think you've mentioned October surprise with some big names, and we won't go any further. Question with JR: has China taken over Australia and bought the land?
Well, they're trying to do that. They've done it here, so why wouldn't they do it there?
Yeah. Okay, that's all the questions I'm seeing right now. I don't think I've missed any. I think let me double check ones that I wrote down earlier. Yeah, I've asked everything that I wrote down, and I think I've done a good job of keeping an eye on everybody. So.
All right, good. Well, and you're real weak. I can barely hear you. Rosie's barking.
Yeah, that doesn't help. Okay.
But if you will, why don't you close it out? I want to jump off before she destroys. See?
Yeah.
Before she destroys everything.
Okie doke.
Hang on, folks. Bring others. It will get very interesting soon.
All right, we've got we have 107 here right now. How are you doing in getting the money for the equipment you need?
Not very well.
Okay. All right, I'll put that out again. And I'll talk to you in a bit.
Okay, I need you as soon as you can get here.
I know.
Thanks.
Okay.
All
right, bye. All right, I got a delivery to make for him. Larry needs some equipment in the house that they do not have, and it is vital for the next stage of his recovery. And he needs $1,250. He needed yesterday $1,250. He was going to check how much he had in his PayPal account, and Rosie became obnoxious and hurt him, and cut one of his cuts open, and so he had to just go deal with that rather than telling me how he was set. I don't think a breathing machine is what he needs, Frogman. We did buy him one of those before, and I'm not sure if he kind of wore it out and got to the end of it or what. I don't think he's using one at the moment, so I don't know. I don't know. He didn't want to say exactly what it was that he needed because, if the wrong person's listening and passing that along, that's not safe for him. And his wife is extremely protective right now. And so he's, it's important for him to get all his therapies that he's doing to get back to where he was. You can hear in his voice his struggle to think on his feet as quickly as he used to be able to do. Now that he has been told this is temporary, and that his thinking and processing will improve and come back. But, being in a coma for 2 or 3 months certainly had an impact on what's going on with him and his processing and everything. And there's been so much physically involved in what he's dealing with that, he's just, the fact that he's alive is nothing but an answer to prayer and a miracle. So anything you can do to help Larry get this next vital piece of it, and it is really, really important. He just emphasized to me how important this next piece of equipment is. They were able to get him a special certain things that they've been able to get already to make it possible for him to be home. And he's certainly improving more quickly at home. Folks, the doctor on Monday just said it was a miracle how quickly he's progressing. And he was so surprised when the occupational therapist was there yesterday and said that she doesn't need to come anymore because his progress is so incredible. So he's getting very close to being 100% physically, and this is another, this last piece of equipment is something that will help him get there. He has to buy it. I did go online and look at some used things price wise for him. There was a reason that he said no to some of the things that I was suggesting, and what I was seeing available in Facebook Marketplace was not, it didn't, an awful lot of what the little that was available did not look like it would meet the need of what he was trying to get. So we have in the past put heads together and done the best we could for him, but it doesn't look like that's possible. So he needed $1,250. I don't know where he is with that, because he's still, every few, when you're taking strong medication every few days, something else has to be renewed. So anyhow, when money comes in a big chunk, then it's easier to set it aside for the specific need versus, taking it and using it for medications. The pain meds he's been on for years, and of necessity. I mean, for crying out loud, he still has shrapnel in his body that's lodged in painful places that he, they can't take it out wherever it is. And I have seen some of the damage that's been done to his body with drive-by shootings and stuff. So, I mean, what this guy has been through is just, the fact that he's alive is a miracle. So thank you guys for what you have done and what you can do. We're not doing the conference calls anymore right now, Frogman, but I am posting my phone number here in the chat, 240-499-6729. Take that down. And I don't know if he's taking Vicodin or OxyContin. I have no idea, Tyrone, but I know how important that is for some people who need it. And he certainly needs something. So, no, I've stopped doing the conference calls, and I don't know if I'm going to pick them back up or not. But at this point, there's no more conference calls at all. You're free to call, text me if we need to talk. If you need help in finding another way to help Larry besides Nichols Live at AOL.com on his PayPal account, that would be great. Libya, Lebanon, Iran, Turkey, Syria. I mean, those names are right there in the Bible. And Turkey and Greece are about to go at it over their disagreement over who owns the waters in the Mediterranean for oil drilling. So Greece claims them. Lebanon's trying to infringe on their territory. So that's another one of those. And those are both NATO countries. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with them. All right, that's it. I've got to take something that I've got here at the house that Larry needs. And I am still going to do a YouTube channel of my own, Frogman. My returning from Dad's funeral. I'm still trying to get my feet under me. So as fast as I can, I'm going to try and get that. I don't know how to set it up. I need to learn. So as soon as I can get that done, I will announce it here for sure. So that's it. Text if you need me. If you can't give to Larry through his PayPal account, then I can help you. There are other ways to do it. So I know how to get creative. Not always adequately, but most of the time. So yeah, we're not doing the conference calls anymore. So that extension number won't help you any. All right. God bless y'all. And we'll talk tomorrow with Larry. Bye.